my name is Vicki McCarty and I'm with Calico Patch Designs. And I have been working and collaborating with Riley Blake to bring you a wool collection. And I'm here today to show you this project, and this happens to be one of the blocks that we're going to bring you with this new wool. And it is one of 12 in the new designs. So today we're going to work on, this is called August Pride. So we're going to work on making this cute little block. So what I have done is I have already went ahead and to make it a little faster, I've already done some of the things to work us ahead a little bit, we'll say. So here's what I have. It takes, background is going to be a wool background. And in order to do this, you're going to need all 12 of the blocks. You'll need a yard of white, a yard of black. You'll need the 10-inch stacker of the wool. There'll be a 10-inch stacker of all the wool colors in order to do all the 12 in the series. So you will need to cut an 11 by 12 of the white wool for this particular one in the series. And you'll want to go ahead and print off the appliques onto a fusible web. So what I've done to speed things up, I already have them all ironed on and cut out onto the correct colors for this particular one. But I have a couple of the pieces that I want to share with you to show you how easy it is to do that. So this is the pieces that I'm going to put on the black. So this is the sewing machine and the handle on the sewing machine. So in order to do that, all I need to do is, the fusible is two-sided, and all I want to do is just take this apart, take the paper off the back of the fusible, and that leaves the sticky side and the pattern side together. And I want to place it on the black wool. And then I've got a piece of the handle, and I'm going to peel the paper off the back of it. And that leaves that little piece for the handle, and I want to place it. Now, when you do this, you want to be very careful and leave all the space that you can. You want to place your pieces close when you're working with wool. So I'm going to iron this into place on my wool. Okay. Now wool is very thick. It takes a lot of heat. So don't be afraid to use a little, to iron a little longer than you normally would, okay? So now that it's on there and ironed into place, all I need to do now is I usually will loosely cut around it, cut it out. Okay. Now all I'm going to do is cut on the line now and cut the pieces out. These are reversed so that if you use fusible, that though they're reversed here, they will be in the right position when you get ready to fuse them on. So you want to make sure that your patterns are reversed whenever you use them fusible. This is the little handle. And cut it out. Usually when I'm doing my little pieces in circles, I turn the actual piece, not the scissors. You want to actually turn the piece. I find that if I do that, my pieces have, they're smoother if I turn the actual piece rather than turn the scissors. You have less little niches and little things poking out. They're a lot smoother and around. Okay, so these are now ready. That was all it took, was to take these out of that, cut them out, and fuse them down. So these are ready. Now I've already taken the paper off the back of these, so they're ready to fuse down. Work on those. This I have, these are in reverse, so that way that they will come out in the right direction when we iron them on. So now we are ready to use our applique pressing sheet. Now, applique pressing sheet is very important to me. I just can't do any applique without that. I'm gonna scoot this out of the way, bring my ironing board in closer here. So I have what's called my placement pattern. So this is in every pattern that we do. We always have a placement pattern. Now the placement pattern is very important to me because that tells me where everything goes. I have to have that to use this, okay? With all these little pieces in here, it's important to know where everything's gonna be fused down. And I'm hoping that you can see this in here in the camera, but these are all the little pieces that need to be fused into place. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to take pieces and fuse them together first. So all these little pieces will be fused down together first. So like the little flowers, I'll go ahead and fuse them into place, and I will add the leaves underneath the flowers. I'll go ahead and build the smaller pieces first. That way, when I get ready to add the sewing machine, if I lay the sewing machine down first on top of here and fuse it down, then I can't see what's underneath it. But if I go ahead and build the flowers up and fuse them first and peel them off and lay them down over to the side, then I can place them in on top of the sewing machine. What I'm doing is building the appliques up on top of one another. So many, many years ago, we used to have what we called iron-ons to go on. I always tell everybody we had iron-ons to go on t-shirts. I'm building little iron-ons is what I'm doing. So I'll build the little spool, I'll build the hand wheel, and I'll build all these into little pieces. That way, when I get ready to put them together, I can put the big pieces down, and then I can add the little pieces in on top of them. So what I've got here, I'll show you this, and this will make sense to you, I think. So if I add those in, and I add in the leaf, this will be the first one I'll do, and this will begin to make sense. Okay, so here is a flower section. Okay, all right. Now there is a little flower section that's in the corner of this machine. Now, in order to remove it though, when you iron the fusible to this is a Teflon sheet, and it's reversible. There's not a right side or a wrong side. You can't wear it out. It's you can use it over and over again, but what it allows me to do is it allows me to peel this off and still keep the fusible on the back, okay? So what I do then is I've got that put together. I can take it, turn it upside down, and lay it over there. Then I'm ready to go ahead and make all the other parts and pieces of the quilt that's on here. So just like this quilt right here, I can go ahead and lay, because I can see where the quilt belongs. You can see it right there. I'll lay it down. All right, I have another quilt on top of it, or another layer on top of it. So I can lay it down on top of it, and then I can lay these pieces, put the pinwheels on top of that. Now I can't see where the pinwheels go on this one. I know I've got my quilt in the right place, but I can slide this out and put my pinwheels where they belong. Okay, so let me see if I can figure this out before I start laying them in there real quick. It's hard to do this without placing them in here first. Here we go. Here's one. Okay, hang on just a second. I'll show you what I've done here. One second. Little pinwheels are where the quilt is laying down. I've got them shaped a little odd, so hold on just a second and I will show you. All right. All right, so there's what my little quilt looks like. Okay? Got to make it meet all in the center. Now I can fuse that little part together, make it one piece, and then I can peel it off and lay it over here. So it will be ready. So this is how I build my little blocks up, so that they will look like my pattern. They'll look more like my pattern. I can get it more accurate and look perfect rather than guess where everything goes. Okay, now I can just leave it, sit there and let it cool. But I can go ahead now and do the next little flower. So I know the flower, well, let's put the leaves down. If I can hold it up here, maybe I can show you. There's a leaf here. I hope you guys can see. There's a leaf here. There's one here. And one here. Now there's the leaves around that. Now I can take the flower and put it right there. There's a thing in the center. And there's that leaf. There you go. Now it's ready. So I'll fuse it together. Now I always tell everybody this story. Now I'm going to say this, I know this from a friend, it's not because, it's not, this is just a friend of mine this happened to, let's just say. If you were to be at a retreat and you were to be working on a bunch of little flowers and you were to happen to not get to finish what you were doing and you rolled the sheet up with all the flowers stuck to it, if you were to come back, say, 2 years later and unroll it, your flowers would still be stuck to it. And they'd still be in really good shape and still be just fine. And I'm just saying this from a friend. It's not like it really happened to me or nothing. So they really were just fine. They were perfect. So they do just stay right here on this sheet and they still were perfect. I still pulled them out and fused them right back on something else. And they were, you know, they were just fine. So being able to roll this up and take them back and forth places is just another nice thing about this. So see, now this is ready. It's all one piece. Turn it upside down. This little guy should be ready. Now, if you were to peel this off and one of the leaves was not to come off with it, then you just go back again. But look how cool that is. So that little guy is one piece now. That's what an applique pressing sheet. I don't try to do any applique without a sheet. It's that important to me. All right, let's put our little spool together. So all these pieces that are so little and you're thinking, oh my gosh, I can't do this, I put everything fused down first. I've had people ask me, do I go ahead and put one piece down at a time and stitch it down? But I don't, because that would be so many stitches I would do that I wouldn't necessarily have to do. Like, I wouldn't have to do the stitches that are behind this machine. The machine covers those, so why would I want to stitch all that down before I put the machine down? So no, I only stitch the things that I have to. That, you know, by putting it all down at once, you don't need to do the stitches behind that machine. There's no need, okay? All right, so now I've got my handle, I've got my little piece of, my little spool. Go ahead and put some more flowers together. Go ahead and get the centers in those. So you can see what I'm doing. I'm just building this little guy up. Just making it easier for when I get ready to put it together. It's just that simple, guys. I'm just telling you. All right, so now what I can do, let's go ahead and put the base on the sewing machine. I can let those cool. As long as you can just scoot around on this, you can use it anywhere. Let's see if I can go ahead and pull these up. They're kind of going to be in my way. Okay. Oh. All right. So we've got all the little flowers ready. So now what I want to do is go ahead and start putting it together. So I'm going to put the base of the sewing machine, the little brown base of the sewing machine is the farthest away. So it has to go down first. So I'm not sure if you can see, but I think you can see it's right there, okay? So then I have the top of the sewing machines right there. The bed of the sewing machine's right there. Let me slide this over. And I've got that corner of the bed. All right. Then I've got the quilt. Now hang on a minute, I'll show you all this in just a second. I'll let you get an idea what I'm talking about. Okay, so see how I've laid all that right in the place of where it belongs. So everything covers up everything else. You can see underneath there. It's perfect. So now I slide that back up into place. I can take the paper off this now. So to get the paper off, all you have to do is I shake it two ways. I just make both hands go 2 ways, and it tears it off. Okay? So this paper's got to come off. Okay? And now that's it's a little tacky, so it's a little sticky, and I place that right on top of the applique pressing sheet to cover up the sewing machine. I can see right through it. It's perfect. Okay? Now, easy enough. I've got the spool of thread ready. Guess what? It goes right there. All right? All the little pieces are falling into place now. Now, at some point, I can't see where the flowers and things go. So all I have to do is, I can take this apart now. I've got all the pieces on there that I need. So now I need to look at the flowers that are across the bottom, and the word quilt and all that. And all I have to do is lay it down on here and start placing these things in place. Let's see if I can find a pen. I think that'll help you all to see. Let's see if I can do that. There we go. So this little guy was this one right here. He's all together, so how easy is that just to pick him up and go there? He's right in place. He looks perfect. This one went up top. He goes right there. So all I have to do is lay him right there. Look at there. It's that easy. All because of this sheet right here. That little guy's amazing. So the word quilt, he probably starts about right there. There's my cue. Now we took the paper off this before, so it's all done the same way. I may have to do this with 2 hands. That U's being a little stubborn. U. Okay. Now there we go. It's that easy. All right, looks like I have an extra leaf that goes right, hold on, we'll turn that a little bit. It goes right in here. Now that part's done. This will be stitches, that'll be stitches, that part's done. It's that easy. Now we just got to do this down here. This one has this half flower in it. And it goes right here. Now, I could go ahead then and put, it's got 1 leaf here and a leaf, uh-oh, they're sticking to my fingers. A leaf here. And another leaf here. There's those. Got 1 here. I will go ahead and add these. Now you could go ahead and stitch your lines on here if you didn't feel comfortable doing this, but I feel okay doing this. I could go ahead and put these in here. Okay. All right. Okay. So all we got to do now, put this back over here. I just got to fuse this together. Okay. So let's do that. Now it'll take a little more heat this time because now we're going through some of these. You'll have to look. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 layers. So you'll have to use a lot more heat. And steam, if your iron calls for steam, you'll have to use a lot of steam too. So it just depends on the fusible that you're using. Okay, sometimes when you're doing so many layers, I will flip this over and press from the other side. You know, sometimes if just being able to get through to like the bottom 2 layers, it helps. Since we're trying to get through 5 layers, so we're trying to get through the bottom 2 layers. All right, so once this is cool, now you make sure you let this cool down because if I try to peel it and it's not cooled down enough, then my adhesive from my fusible will stick to the applique pressing sheet. So you wanna make sure you've got it cooled down. All right, so now you should be able to just peel it right up and make it one iron-on design. Just want to do it gently, like. Make sure you're picking everything up. So now you see you have one design, and it's going to be sticky on the back. Well, it depends on the fusible you use again, but on the fusible that I use, it's still tacky on the back. So I can go ahead and turn it upside down. I'll lay it over here, move my applique pressing sheet out of the way, and bring in the background that I intend to use for my project. Now, what I like to do is I do one of two things. I can go on and take an ruler, and I like to use chalk because there's not a lot of things that will show up on the wool. So the block will be an 10 by 11. So I could go in here and do like a 10.5 by 11 and know exactly where it's gonna be cut. That way, if this didn't brush off, I would be cutting it out. But at least press a little bit and find the center of your block. But you've cut it a little big. You're cutting it 11 by 12. Okay, so kind of get an idea where the center is, and you know it's right there. Now take in consideration that you are still going to come back and put flowers in there eventually, but I will go ahead and put it on the center of my wool. Pull it down just a little bit. The nice thing about this is I get to play with the placement of it because it's one piece. I don't have to pull part of it down and then the spool and everything. I can pull the whole thing. So when I move one piece, I move it all. So that looks pretty close to me. I like where that's at. I've still got room to put the flowers down here and have some space at the top and space at the bottom. So I think I've got it where I want it. So now all I have to do is fuse it into place. So I'm going to press it right into place right here. And then I will be ready to stitch. I can go ahead and stitch this down into place, and then I'll come back and add my flowers in the same exact manner that we just did this. It's the same process as we just did on the rest of it. But at least I can go ahead and start stitching on this piece. Now we're ready to do our stitching. So what I like to use is pearl cotton. I like to use a size 8. It's equivalent to some of the size 12s, but it's also equivalent to probably a size 3 if you wanted to use an embroidery floss. But a size 8 is what I like to use. So I'm going to show you how to do this embroidery or this blanket stitch around the sewing machine bed. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start. I usually start where I can get the longest path around. And you want to start on the outside of the applique. I'm going to bring my thread up, and I'm going to I bring it up and hold it under my thumb. I want to take a stitch, take a bite on the inside. I want it to come out on the outside of the applique. I'm going to pull it, and there's the first stitch. I put it under my thumb again. I want to take the exact same size, same length of stitch, same bite, and I'm going to come out underneath the wool again. I'm going to take the same size bite. Same thing, I'm just going to hold it under my thumb. I'm going to come out underneath, same size bite. Okay, now I'm going to keep going around. I'm going to go up to this corner here and show you how to make your corners look really pretty. So I'm going to keep taking the same size stitch all the way around. I just place it under my finger, that way the thread's going in the right direction. Because what it actually does is it makes a little stitch all the way around the outside. That's why I bring my thread around and hold it underneath my thumb. All right, so I want to do a 3-pointed corner here, so I'm going to take the stitch here. You kind of got a plan for it, so I'm going to take the stitch here. I'm going to go down in the same place I took the last stitch. I'm going to come out in the corner. I'm going to pull it away from me. Now that's probably not going to stay in that corner. So I'm going to go underneath and take a little tiny whip stitch and lock that corner in place. I'm going to turn my pillow around. I'm going to come back, go in the same exact corner or same exact hole that I took the last stitch. And I'm going to come out underneath and take the same exact stitch again. And now I've got the real pretty little corner there. Now I just go on stitching just like I was before until I stitch all the way around to the end. And I will come out up here. Now, here's the thing. I do like to stitch on a pillow. I'm usually sitting in my easy chair at the house or in the car driving or wherever I'm at. I've usually got a pillow in my lap. It's another little thing that my grandmother taught me, even when I was piecing quilts. If you put a pillow in your lap, you'll sit up straighter and you can stitch a lot longer. If you don't and you try to stitch without it, you'll bend over and your back will get tired and you won't be able to stitch very long. So this is what my grandmother taught me. She said, you know, put a little pillow in your lap and you can stitch all day. If you don't, you won't be able to stitch very long. So I always have a pillow with me to stitch on. Something else that she taught me that I will always use is a thimble. I always have a thimble on. If you will put one on, it goes on your middle finger. You don't push with the end. You're actually pushing on the side of your thimble. When you're pushing that needle through, I know you don't see it, but I'm holding the needle here and I'm pushing right here. And I push that right through with the side of my finger. So if you're first starting or if you stitch forever, if you will find a thimble that fits and that you can be comfortable with, please put a thimble on. You can stitch a whole lot faster. You can go a lot longer if you'll just put a thimble on. So that's a couple of my secrets. There are a few other stitches that I did use on this one. Like this right here is a French knot. Let's see if I can find something. Well, this right here is a French knot. All the little vines are stem stitches. These are star stitches. Oh, let me see. These are couching stitches. I just couch the spool down. These are stem stitches also. And my patterns, most all my patterns, I'll tell you what color thread I used for what and tell you what stitch I used. These are a couching stitch also around the word quilt. It just looked better. I tried different stitches, but to couch that down, it just looked so much better. When I did this type work, I use a tearaway stabilizer, and I actually traced that out on my pattern. And I place that on here and pin from the back side and stitch it down. And then after I've got it stitched down, then I remove the tearaway stabilizer, and that's how I add my detail to all my pieces. So that's another thing that I like to use. This is called a Rhodes stitch. It turned out really, really nice with that. So thank you guys for watching. Again, this is one of 12. Thank you guys for watching. Again, I'm Vicki McCarty from Calico Patch Designs. Please follow me on my Facebook at Calico Patch Designs.